But today is Friday, June 30th. Today we're going to be going over some of the things that Parliament's been working on. We're going to start off with some introductions of Parliament members. We are then going to go into the items that we've been working on, and then we will do some questions on any of that, as well as the tokenomics changes. This will be recorded, so after the fact, people can watch this. We'll put it on our YouTube and post on socials as well. So in terms of the plan for tokenomics, just giving a brief overview, we plan on putting up the vote on Snapshot early next week, and then assuming that that is passed, then we will be in a place to start some of the tokenomics changes in the coming weeks once we launch Premia Blue or Premia V3. With that said, Cozy, is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we have some of the guys give an intro?
No, I think we can jump into giving intros, and then we'll after they give some intros, we can kind of bridge into what the Parliament actually is and what we've done so far, as well as future plans. So, Fluffy Bear, why don't you kick us off? Give us a brief intro, maybe about your background, what interested you about joining the Parliament, and we'll go on to the next.
Sure. Fluffy Bear. I've been intermittently in the crypto space since 2017 and uninterruptedly since 2021. Stumbled upon Premia late 21. Found the Twitter post from Crookman, if I remember correctly. Became a bag holder. A community member. And through bag holding, got into researching the protocol a bit more in depth, and found out that there was actually a competent team and a good product vision behind it. And I don't know. I guess what called me to participate in the Parliament was the opportunity to contribute to the decentralization of a nascent protocol that really spoke to me. As for my background, I'm not professionally involved in crypto. I'm a project manager at an engineering company. Not much more to say, really.
Thanks, Fluffy. Minim, why don't you give us a little intro?
Yeah, sure. I'm also sorry for my microphone if my voice is a little bit shitty or echoing. So basically, I'm in crypto from 2017. I started with mining. As I was mining, I was learning more things like trading, shitcoin trading, and all those stuff. And eventually in 2020, 2021, I got heavily involved in DeFi. I was trading coins on Uniswap, yield farming, providing liquidity on Uniswap for some projects and things like that. And randomly, I found out about the Premia, I think in one Discord where I was with my friends. Someone linked the project there, and I got interested after I read the white paper and the options. About what the protocol is about, and I started using it. I was also one of the first, liquidity providers when V2 was released, when we had only Rep, BTC, and Ethereum pools. And I'm also invested into project because I like it. I think the team is doing a very good job, and it's very hardworking. So I wanted to be involved, and as I'm already invested into project and very active here, I also decided to sign up for the Parliament because I never did something like that, so I wanted to try something new. And also, as I'm already involved, I thought it would be just like an addition or a bonus. And yes, I'm 33 years old, from Europe. and I'm very excited about crypto overall.
Also had Sminum, one of our, I would say most active feedback contributors. So it only felt right bringing into the fold a bit more. On to Dempa. Dempa, going on.
Yeah, hi. I'm Denpa. I've been in crypto since 2016. 2016 to 2017, I was just, getting my bearings together. Then after the 2017 top and crash, I got interested in leverage trading, futures mostly, no options. There was only Deribit back then, and options weren't really big back then. Futures were on the up. Around 2020, I got into DeFi, and I've been doing pretty much DeFi full time since then. I do have a background in economics, but I just do crypto. Found Premia in late 2021, actually through another options protocol. I took an interest in options. I saw the potential in on-chain options, so I invested in Premia and joined the Parliament because I wanted to, kind of like Sminham said, I've never done anything like this, never been part of a DAO or anything like this. I wanted to help with certain things, direct the project in a direction, or at least help the team, provide direct feedback and stuff. And yeah, so I'm now a Parliament member, doing my best to help Premia be the best options protocol and more in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Dempa. Now, I think it's a good segue into, what is the Parliament? We often get asked this as we've had new BD inquiries roll in, and we've talked about the Parliament on some of the recent podcasts, but the idea behind the Parliament has been a long time in the making in this kind of framework that Kay has been putting together that I kind of think of as like meta architecture for Premia, or like a future meta architecture for Premia. EK, do you want to give us a little background into like the idea behind Parliament and the initial like design and how we got to where it is now?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time last year actually looking at different governance systems, both in historic, but then also like modern. And by modern, I mean both like modern government systems, but then also how the governance meta was kind of playing out within the crypto and DAO infrastructure and ecosystems. And we found that a lot of the cookie cutter DAOs like didn't really make sense to us. A lot of them were kind of for show. You have, this is not to say that Premia is perfect by any means, but you have a lot of consolidation within a few wallets, and then you have what has been classified as a DAO theater. But then also, I love G's, the Spartans, his little meme about a vote that says, "What color Lambo should I buy?" And it's like blue or red, and the max vote is blue. And then the last day of the vote, the main dev or like one of the leaders in the protocol votes red. It's like, oh, nice, governance, it worked well. I'm gonna buy a red Lambo. And so we're trying to avoid that. We had a lot of community members that had opinions on how we should kind of move the protocol forward as it pertains to how the token is played into the entire ecosystem, but then also like from a strategy perspective of where do we spend dev resources and dev spend as we continue to build out the group, the contributor group. So I see the Parliament as an extension to that. And so we figured that a smaller council would help with like decision fatigue and governance fatigue that you typically see across the entire industry. And we can bring in a small, close group of people and kind of bring them in, and we meet on a regular basis. We meet for at least an hour a week. We have constant updates in terms of we have different little mini groups. that are kind of tasked with different components of governance, and then we come back and we meet on a weekly basis, kind of discuss the progress that we've made, start drafting proposals. Obviously, the main thing that we've been working on since the beginning has been tokenomics changes, and how can we take a step back, look at, okay, what are the main priorities that we want to do in terms of tokenomics changes, because Premia's been around for over 2 years now, and some of the things that were on the initial quote-unquote white paper may not be relevant today, right? The landscape has changed dramatically, and so we need to kind of fit to match the modern DAO ecosystems. So we took a look at that. We wanted to make sure, okay, so citizens are the utmost priority in terms of being taken care of, and so we kind of framed everything around that, and then we kind of took a step back, one step at a time, and said, okay, so as the citizens are the focus, what is the best way that we can provide value, all kinds of value to citizens? How can we make the product more engaging? How can we reduce dilution? Like, there's a lot of major concerns that were brought up, and we think that we're pretty happy with the outcome. But to your original point, Parliament, a small group of elected members made sense to us. We would be able to fast track within that small group governance decisions, and then wrap them all up into a bill type structure and get that ratified by all token holders. But at least in terms of agility and some of the coordination costs that exist with casting a wide net and trying to keep everyone involved and keep everyone updated. People have real lives, so they may not be able to follow up on the day-to-day progress on everything. And so if you're trying to introduce regular votes, then the attention gravity there is not very strong. And so these guys were all pretty up to date with everything anyways, and they were high regarded members of the community, and so it was a pretty easy election process to get them all slated in. And then we've just been working since April, and we've been kind of putting together what the regular cadence and frequency of discussion will be in terms of providing notes to the community. The tokenomics changes is the first major thing. The ratification of the bill structure, omnibus bill structure, and kind of like the fast track on proposal writing. But I will let maybe some of the community members go on that in a little bit more detail. I think that answered the question. Hopefully.
Yep. Sorry, I was trying to get things and toasted things, invites working to get them up here. Cool. So let's go into the first kind of action item that we took care of as a Parliament group, being tokenomics. We put out a recent article on it. We have that cool graphic DK made. But let's talk about the process. It was a handful of months in the making. Fluffy or Dempa, Sminim, one of you want to comment on, give some insight into kind of the structure and how we kind of came to terms with the new tokenomics?
Well, initially we wanted to, most of the Parliament members were pushing for a token burn, a significant token burn. But upon discussing that and given the legal framework that Premia was in, we decided that instead of burning tokens to prevent the dilution of early investors and long-term stakers, it would be better to direct some tokens from the liquidity mining bucket allocation and distribute it to the stakers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was also very much for the burn at the beginning, but later on, I decided it's better just to keep tokens as they are. And we just adjusted the buckets and it's better to reward the long-term stakers than just burn the tokens right away. It wouldn't be so beneficial. And also, if we burn too many tokens right away, we can't mint them anymore. And also, the problem was like the ratio of the buckets. I think the team ownership would be too big.
Right.
So yeah, now it would be much better, I think.
Because a selection of tokens were not available to be burned. So if we burned tokens, they would only be from the allocations which were made for the general public. So a token burn would have increased the team's share of tokens significantly, which is not great for decentralization.
Yeah, and we also try to adjust the dilution, like to not inflate too many tokens, like some protocols have. They put out too much emissions for the liquidity mining. And if you control that, have like controlled emissions, you can make really good effects. Like you can still bootstrap things and give rewards, but not dilute people too much. And also, there will be like call options now as a reward. That would be like really interesting to see how it will work with mining.
Maybe as a good start, does anyone want to take a stab at like the key highlights in the tokenomics if someone hasn't reviewed the documentation? I'm happy to take the first stab. If you guys are okay with that. All right.
Go for it.
So there's rebucketing. I think one of the major things is rebucketing. So when the initial tokenomics was announced back in 2021, there was not really a DAO framework in place. There was no like tokens that were kind of set aside for a independent, third collective to have any tokens to utilize for grants or to utilize for buyback and burn or whatever the case may be. And so like that was one of the major first rebucketings that we did. So 10 million that was previously had been in the bonding curve and then got set aside for a safety module. And then upon further review, safety module should not be in the underlying token because then you get into issues there. Having a collateral in your native token, which is not good for existing or future token holders. So we will have some sort of safety module, but it will be done in a different way and won't be Premia as collateral. Nonetheless, those 10 million tokens were then kind of the first initial allocation to the DAO, which the name is Blue Descent. Descent has a cool acronym. I think it's a cool acronym. DAO, I think, has kind of been killed in a lot of regards, and I don't think it currently reflects the state of the market. So, nonetheless, Blue Descent is kind of the overarching DAO-like structure for everything that's kind of getting built in the Premia ecosystem. Now, that was one of the first major changes, and then we also decided roughly, I think it's 9.6-ish million that we're currently under control of the operator, and the operator is essentially just a collective of all the different contributors. We have 28 full-time contributors at this point. So the operator, we had about between like marketing costs, partnerships, stuff like that. There was 9-point-something million that was moved over into the Blue Descent bucket as well. So we didn't think that we needed the operator to actually like own those conversations. Those conversations are probably better kept on a DAO-wide level. And so those are some of the major changes in terms of rebucketing. We also kind of decided on the liquidity mining front that the 30 million that had been allocated there for a 10-year course was probably too long. 10 years is a long time in crypto. We've already been around for 2 years. So we decided, okay, let's kind of rebucket some of those and kind of not necessarily expedite the emissions level, because the overall emissions level actually remains relatively same at 2 million emitted per year at the like base layer for liquidity mining. And so we kind of did, okay, we'll do a 4-year allocation at 2 million a year. Traditional liquidity mining. We'll set aside 8 for future products, which we've been discussing with Parliament, but not ready to share there yet. and then we will set aside the 10 million that are kind of remaining. You'll notice I have a gap on my math, and that's because it's already been emitted. But the 10 million that's remaining, and we'll do this airdrip campaign, right? And so the first 2 million that we've marked for the airdrip campaign will be based straight onto influence, right? And so influence is calculated at a rate of how long you've locked up your Premia tokens to make VX Premia. And then if you do, depending on how long you lock it up, you have a multiplier, right? And so you take that multiplier times the amount of VX Premia, and that's what your influence number is. So we'll take a total pro rata allocation of all the influence, distribute those 2 million over the entire influence pool, and then there will be a minimum 1 year lock on that. And so if anyone removes within that 1 year lock, then you will turn over your airdripped tokens to the entire the rest of the group that is still in the pool for 1 year. Now the other 8 million we're going to be revisiting in January timeframe to kind of go over, but that's where we will start to get into the drip part of the airdrip. Whereas different for different reasons, there's different streaming components, but more to come on that. And then the biggest thing that we kind of wanted to focus on is liquidity mining. So we obviously announced that we are changing to be a options emission. So you'll have, as instead of just straight Premia at zero cost tokens for being a liquidity provider, you actually get call options. Those call options are 30-day European physically settled, and they initially will be set with a strike at 55% of the current market price of the day in which you claim those options. And so they're deep in the money. After a month has expired, you can choose to exercise or not. If you choose to exercise, then you're going to pay that 55% strike. So in the case of $1 being the price at the day in which that you claimed, then on the expiration date, you have 7 days post expiration to actually pay the 55 cents per Premia token. So it'd be 0.55 USDC per Premia call option, in which that will 50 cents of the 55 cents will get returned to all current stakers, and then 5 cents will go to Blue Descent. The operator takes no part of that transaction, but we've also built this whole entire mechanism as a module in which that we can offer it to other DAOs. And so we've already gotten quite a bit of interest in that. We anticipated that, and so it is fully modular, physically settled options, and then we have this extra component that if you choose not to pay the 55 cents for the physically settled portion, we will allow you to retain 20% of the intrinsic value at the expiration date, and that will just get locked up for a year for you, and so you don't have to pay a cost, but there is the penalty of 1 year until that unlocks to you. The remaining will then get recycled back into the liquidity mining program. So we actually built it in different structures. So like physically settled is one structure, the 20% intrinsic value is another structure, and then you can kind of mix and match how you want to use it if you're another protocol. I think those are the biggest updates. The 55 cents. So there's when you emit tokens out at zero cost, it's just a fully dilutive process to current stakers, right? And so by doing a 50%, we're literally doing a little bit more, so it's actually it's slightly more favorable to current stakeholders than it is for liquidity miners by that small fraction over 50%. But essentially, if you take the current price, you give it to stakers, then in that event, if the stakers utilize that USDC staking reward commission fee that kind of is allocated to them, and they reinvest that into Premia, at that point in time, then you've all the value extraction that happens on the liquidity miner side actually gets shared with the staking pool, and so that if you were to buy back Premia, you have 50% of the price of that. So you're able to keep up with dilution. That's up to you if you choose not to and just to take the USDC and walk away and use it for something else. It's also on you. This is all choices that you have in our ecosystem. And then that 5% overage that goes to the Blue Descent DAO is going to be used for protocol-owned liquidity. We're going to try to expand our efforts for protocol and liquidity, both on the DEX side, so whether it be Uniswap v3, v4, SushiSwap, whatever, on the DEX swap side, expanding out the different liquidity sources there, but then also on the actual platform itself, right? So we'll have the Blue Descent will have plenty of tokens that they can use for depositing into the Premia call pools that will be available on Premia Blue, but then also this USD allocation is so that it can also deposit on the put side. Maintaining a depth of liquidity in those pools is very important to us, and having the operator kind of control that is not ideal. So that's why we've decided to step away from that and make it in a way that's beneficial to all users and stakeholders of the platform without the operator being involved in that. As one last point, Blue Descent as an initial phase will be a multi-sig in which the Parliament members and some of the traditional multi-sig users will all be on a new multi-sig. And that's where all of those tokens will be held on this new multi-sig, obviously behind a time lock, but the ownership of that time lock will be the Blue Descent multi-sig, as well as like the fee returns and stuff like that will start moving into Blue Descent as well. So the operator will start stepping away from full control of the platform. As you know, a lot of our smart contracts are upgradable, but the plan for the near term is as everything's stable within Premia Blue, we will start to remove the proxy elements on those and make them non-upgradable. And so if we ever, Premia V4 sometime in the future will be a completely new implementation. It won't be an upgrade similar to how the V2 to V3 process is. All right, that was
I think it's important to emphasize that, as you stated, that the shifting of the control of some important buckets addresses one of the historical criticisms of the Premia Tokenomics, which was that most of the tokens, perhaps not nominally, but effectively were in control of the team. And I'm saying this from memory, but I believe once the Blue Descent DAO is fully operational, more than 60% of all outstanding tokens will be in direct control of the community.
Yeah, I think that's something important to hit on. In the past, the two criticisms around tokenomics have always been centered on FTV and control. And although, not necessarily like contributor control of tokens, the protocol's control of the tokens, and whether that made it decentralized enough. The one thing I wanted to step back on, though, because DK, you covered so much there, we are introducing something new calling Airdrip. Why Airdrip? Why not Airdrop? Why not traditional vote escrow models? Like, how did we come to that model? Maybe one of the Parliament members can kind of touch on that, like the iteration process going from, wanting to burn significant supply to talks of an airdrop to users, to our final implementation that'll be rolling out that we're calling an Airdrip.
I mean, I'll talk again, but one of the initial thoughts was to do something like an initial drop of maybe like 5% of the allocation, and then the rest is kind of gets streamed to you over a period of time, and so that it's not necessarily like an all at once. It's kind of it's streamed to you, and that's from both the retention, like having users come back to the platform, like obviously their stakeholders by staking their tokens, but then also like coming back and checking up on what's regularly happening within the community, but then going staking your tokens, relocking them up. But then also we wanted to, from like a dilution perspective, not to dilute those current stakeholders. So we wanted to get more tokens into the community holders that were more long-term aligned. But this initial allocation will be more of less of the streaming element, but ultimately some of the streaming elements will be coming in the future. The drippy drip.
Contributor. All right, I apologize for sounding like I was falling off a cliff when I was talking last. My dog was like trying to get out the door, and I was like, Okay, so we've covered the airdrip. Let's get into the competition a bit. We're rolling into week 3. We've rolled out some new features. We got vaults that just dropped. DK, do you have any stats offhand just of users so far of the protocol of the new protocol, as well as touching on like the questing elements a bit, that side of things?
Yeah, so I haven't looked at the wallet stats in a few days, but I looked at some of the unique user stats, and so over 2,000 users have utilized the platform in some capacity in Premia Blue, right? So those are obviously fresh stats because we moved over domains from Premia Finance, and we're still seeing an average. At the beginning, it was like 400 a day, and now it's probably about 180 a day of active unique traders on the platform. So the stats have come down a little bit. I think also you always get a lot of hype towards the beginning. However, we're going to try to close it very strong, and we're going to be doing all the on-chain elemented quests will be, maybe 2 to 3 times the normal round of experience. So we're going to have a large emphasis on, users utilizing the platform this last day. This last week, but then also like for anyone that's coming in, a little bit, I wouldn't say necessarily late, but a little bit after everyone else, is that you still have, plenty of time to participate and get a lot of the rewards, right? So we added a lot of rewards today. We added some of the USDC tokens. We added more of the Premia tokens. We added 33 Masari Pro subscriptions, some more merch. This weekend we'll be finalizing some of the merch that is only available for this competition, but ideally we will get that out so that every person that's participating can at least get one piece of that. And so that you can have some piece of merch that, shows that you were part of this initial trading competition. Thinking shirts. I'm thinking our Premia Chan shirts. Nonetheless, so, considering it's a bear market and we have that's like 6x the amount of our last trading competition. So the numbers, that's pretty good. Comparatively, our V2, I think we had roughly 300. So 2,000 is of participants is pretty good. I think that we have somewhere around like 800 have enough experience for at least a hat or something like this. I think last I checked. You'll have to check me on that. But yeah, so we got a lot of participants. Obviously, there were some cybles at the beginning, so you can throw off a little bit for that. But once we introduce some of the checks that we have in place, that those cybles pretty much dropped off a cliff after like the first day or so. However, before we allocate any of the top 3 based rewards for the actual trading competition in terms of P&L, but then also any of the larger priced prizes, we have a script that we can run to check to see any anomaly in terms of providing, depositing all of your liquidity at a free price, and then coming in at a super odd striked pool, and then coming in and buying all that liquidity within another wallet, but then you're also seeing that with multiple wallets, right? So there's a bunch of different things that we have on the check perspective. So we'll probably be doing that sometime between the 7th and the 11th before we actually do the final allocations. But those users will be removed. Obviously, we're constantly adding new features. We added the vaults yesterday. Limit orders, I think, is scheduled for Tuesday. API key management, we're a little bit off, but that's for a smaller subset of users if they want to connect to the SDK directly, and so they can get programmatically trade on the platform. Slowly releasing stuff. There's still new stuff to do, so hopefully we get a good hurrah this last week. We want to see a lot of activity in the short-dated 24 to 48-hour calls and put pools. And those continue to roll, obviously, every day. So Monday, there's always 2 of those pools. Tuesday, there will be 2 of those pools because they continue to run the 24-48 T+2 cycle.
That's nice. I want to take a step back. I jumped ahead a little bit going into the competition stuff, but to wrap up Parliament stuff, let's talk about what we've been working on currently. What are kind of the next action items we'll be attacking as a Parliament? Sminum or Dempa want to hop in and give a little insight?
Yeah, just looking to finalize the tokenomics proposal. Post it, have the votes go through. Once the tokenomics are fixed, we can focus on other things like maximum.
One thing on my end I'll be doing is putting together some things for transparency, just so on a kind of as importance, but at minimum once a month there'll be some updates in a channel from Parliament to the broader community, so that we can kind of get an insight into what we're working on at the moment, what's to come. There is a governance site specifically, or a subspace on the governance portal for Parliament. So for those that are listening in and you have a suggestion or a proposal that you'd like to put up, if you go to gov.premia.blue, sorry, muscle memory, and then you go to the Parliament subspaces, you can submit proposals there. I wanted to put that out there because we've gotten some questions lately in go ahead, DK.
Yeah, I was going to say that the first step should be under the forum of the discussing what the proposals are. So we saw some recently with like analytics and putting together like a trading bot. We had some to come in for like reporting. The forum actually is the first place to start, and then once the discussion is kind of had within the forum and it's good to move on from the forum, then you would go to post on as an actual proposal. And we can also help with that along the way. So if you have any ideas, just always come in to the Discord, and we can always help with that process. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, so forum, there's the proposal site that's specifically for Parliament. Please, don't be shy. Go to the forum, post up some ideas. Let's get conversations going. I'd love to see kind of the process of new ideas flowing in through there and start coming into the Parliament through proposals, and this kind of governance process start going in the way that.
What I envision in the near term of what you need to know that tokenomics is going to be up for vote. The fast track bill process will be up for votes, which will essentially delegate quick decision making to the Parliament members, and then certain things like quorum length and what the proposal length is, stuff like the basic foundational things. But then it'll allow us to start iterating pretty fast, and so we'll be able to spin up the grants, the grant process, get some of those tokenomics changes in terms of like ownership of those smart contracts over to the Blue Descent. Also, the code of conduct for all Parliament members will be ratified as well. So there's quite a few fundamental things, but it will allow us to have the agility moving forward to kind of pick up the pace in terms of what we plan on doing for the next few months.
Based in Parliament build.
Finally made it onto the stage. Hello, everyone.
Hey. Yeah, that's it. It's I think we were only scheduled for 45 minutes, so I don't want to go too much longer. But thanks, Toaster, for coming up. I do want to point out, though, there's 10 Parliament members in total. Obviously, for European time zones, it's getting a little bit late on a Friday evening, so unfortunately we weren't able to have anyone, but I do appreciate you guys being able to jump on for a bit and speak up for your counterparties or your colleagues.
Fellow Premium citizens and Parliament members.
Hello.
Froggy, we got Froggy up here as well. I know it's at the end, but let's pretend we're in the beginning. Why don't you give a little intro about yourself and background so people can get to know the frog/tea sipping Hong Kong warrior.
I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. I just saw the forum with Parliament, and so I said, all right, what's this?
All right, so you want to know like my full background?
I was joking. Yeah, Froggy, you can not talk yet. Let's let Toasted intro himself since he's actively on the Parliament, and then you want to come in and tell people who you are since they normally don't see you out of your cage too often anymore.
All right, yeah, cool.
So hello everyone. Toaster. I have been in crypto for a while, and since like 2016, 2017, I personally, with my skill set, I'm programming first. So I've done a lot of financial programming for the last like 10 years. But when I switched over to more like full-time crypto stuff, doing a lot less programming now. My background is mostly technical, but I also have been working on financial software. At the time, it was doing a few million daily kind of notational underwriting for different credit purposes. So yeah, with this new space, it's been mostly looking at where the future, in my mind at least, was going to be. And it's pretty clearly at the moment financial related. And so hopped around a little bit with Ethereum and Chainlink, and then a few of the different DeFi protocols like Synthetics and Aave and stuff. So with me and where I'm looking, it's looking at where the opportunities are and what has not been built out yet. And the obvious, to me, kind of gap in this space is options. And I was actually around for V1, but the liquidity was not there at the time. So I kept an eye on the project and on the team. I have PTSD from V1 products where there's never a V2 that comes out after, despite a lot of promises. But I kept my eye on Premia, and I knew there was a good team there. I wanted to see if they would stick together and deliver something even better. And V2 came out, and that was awesome because it let people like me sell options that I normally have no great ability to price myself, and buy options that I would not be able to get a feel for if they were cheap or expensive. And now V3 is out, giving all the V1 excited people the option to price their own options, and it gives people like me who don't have those crazy market making algorithms figured out vaults to underwrite and sell options to people. So in terms of why I'm on the Parliament, well, I've got a financial background and a technical background, so I have experience writing software. I actually have won hackathons in Solidity before, under different names and accounts. I try to not dox too much, but yeah, so I have a good technical background, and so that lets me on Parliament kind of, when I'm suggesting things, have an idea of the technical limitations, if they're feasible, that sort of thing. And then I also have a lot of secondary, direct secondary, like financial background as well, working in different credit spaces, and also going full rabbit hole into DeFi and all those derivatives in the last 4 to 5 years. So very excited with Premia because I see one of the best teams in the space with easily the best options platform in the space. Other people may have certain niches, but I think Premia is by far leading the pack. And so I'm putting my time, my energy, and I am a Premia holder, so my money as well, into helping Premia be the best it can be. So yeah, glad to be here with everyone.
Jason Frog pilled. All right, Froggy. Since you normally don't join us, and we'll say you're an honorary Parliament member.
Yeah, who let him out of the cage?
I know.
It's not 5 o'clock yet.
I
Gotta
should
be back
Start
on
getting
cage.
him on these calls.
Farming in real life, and was just wandering around in the other crevices of Discord, and he noticed that there was this forum called on that. So.
Yeah, I snuck out of my cage and I found something I wasn't supposed to. What's going on here?
We're having a Parliament call to kind of give people more info on the Parliament is, what we've been up to, brief updates on like trading comp and tokenomics. Since you crept in, I mean, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Some of you guys already know me, but my background, I've been developing for, I don't know, 15, 16 years now. Started when I was just a wee lad writing basically private servers for RuneScape. And then from there transitioned to writing bots for RuneScape. And then from there transitioned to writing websites to sell gold that my bots were making me on RuneScape. And then eventually, you know, started developing for other things when I was probably like 15 or 16. But then got into like mobile app development, and then got into server development, front-end development, open source, then got into machine learning. Then I went to college, got my degree in computer science, and then while I was in college, started working for a startup as just like an entry-level developer. And when I graduated, they made me CTO of that company, and brought that software forward for a few years. And then the company was kind of stagnating, struggling to, well, basically, I wanted to raise money. The CEO didn't. He wanted to kind of bootstrap it, and well, they ran out of money. And so I kind of did my own thing from there, and eventually got into DeFi. Some of you guys know about Rope. That was really my like entry into DeFi. That was how I met Cozy, DK, Lumyo, and 50 other people in the space that I still talk to all the time. And that was just like a for fun NFT project. What are you saying, Cozy?
Not to be confused with the NFT or the scam project on Solana.
Oh, no. Ours was Don't Buy Rope. It was the original Rope project. But anyway, that was just a fun NFT. And then we decided, hey, we should do something serious. And then we started Premia. So that was 3 years, almost 4 years ago now. So I've just been building Premia since. And honestly, Toasted did a great job of explaining the kind of history of Premia from the outside looking in. It was great hearing that. So that was kind of a lot of the experience from the inside looking out as well, was kind of just hearing what the community was looking for and what they liked, and kind of just building more of what they liked and fixing things they didn't like. And now we're here.
It's kind of funny. I think when I joined the Discord back after the hiatus for V2, I think Cozy actually recognized me. I was like, son of a bitch. I was hoping to just sneak back.
For everyone.
He doesn't miss anything.
Nope.
My house, you know, I know who takes their shoes off when they enter, who doesn't, whose shoes are still at the door and whose aren't anymore.
Do you know who's shitting at any moment in time in your house?
People don't shit in my house.
There's no toilets.
All right. I think that's good for today, since it is Friday evening. I think Cozy announced today that we're gonna start a podcast. I think because we're already spending like an hour a day on live streams and stuff, anyways. So we might as well do it in house. I kind of like this format. You guys are all welcome to join. Community members are welcome to join. It's going to be a fun party. We don't have any follower requirements. So I think it'll be fun nonetheless. And we'll just shoot the shit and talk about macro stuff, and then maybe premium updates, but also like a lot of like cross-project stuff.
We got to bring guests on.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of cross-project stuff. Just see what other people are doing, but it doesn't have to be specifically like auctions platforms. It could be like an NFT project that our friends are doing, or
Can we get Kobe and Ledger on our podcast?
I can ask.
That would curse it, wouldn't it?
What?
Yeah, curse it. We'll call the episode down only.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right.
Well, we can't go much further down, so
Yeah, have you guys ever seen the there's like an edit of the Mike Tyson podcast where it's always like him getting angry. Like it shows like they cut it up to where it shows him getting like angry at the guest, and the guy like they take all the parts of him talking about like eating someone's heart or like punching through his head, and they'll make this like minute-long clip of Mike Tyson gets angry at whoever guests, all these famous people. I imagine ours being like that, but for an hour long, us just like talking to schizophrenics on the internet from the community.
You mean NFT Twitter?
Closer. Thank you everyone for joining us on this video, and we'll see you back next week or in 2 weeks when we start our podcast. Thanks everybody.
Bye.